Nowadays, we're looking for ever more environmentally friendly ways of heating and powering our homes. Today, we followed the installation of an underfloor heating system at a house in Killeef. The heat is generated from a ground source heat pump located in the property's garden.
The client decided to install a ground source heat pump for a number of reasons. First of all was, when we looked at the site, they have ample room for a ground source heat pump. They had no restrictions on space, which is one of the major factors involved when you're deciding whether to go ahead. Second is, it's a clean environmental source of energy. It's throwing natural heat from the ground. It's not releasing any carbon or anything like that. It's a very efficient way of running things. Where the heat pump has got an output of 300 to 400% markup. Another factor was underfloor heating throughout. It uses the energy gathered from the ground amply. They were an ideal place, the best time to go for the ground source heat pump. It is imperative that you have the correct ground. The ideal ground would be like a clay, wet sort of ground, where a bit of water movement through it. That way you can go for a horizontal ground loop collector. If you do have rocky ground, it's not the end of the world. You can go for what's called a borehole. They are quite expensive, but again, you get a more constant temperature, so you do get something for your money. If the ground is dry or you just aren't going for a borehole, don't put the ground source heat pump in. It just will not work efficiently. The second point we make is make sure you get an accredited installer and company to do it. They have been trained, they've taken the time and money and resources into it to make sure that they can do it, and that would be the advice that I would make sure. There are certain challenges that arise when you're looking at designing this technology and looking to install it. One of the major things that we'd be looking at is when we're doing the ground loop collectors, we want to make sure that we achieve the optimum energy from the ground. You wouldn't want to be putting the ground loops under paths, underneath garages. You want to always have access to them at all stages. Other things we'll do is we'll try obviously put a loop around, say, your septic tank. It's a great source of heat collection, from the bath water, tap water, things like that. We try to design the system from the inside of the house out. So if we see the heat demand that's required for the house, we then know what size of a heat pump to put in and how many ground loop collectors that we need in as well. Get the heat requirement first, then we know exactly what needs to be done outside. There are obviously quite a few benefits for putting in the ground source heat pump. First is you're always guaranteed your supply. You don't have to worry about reordering like the likes of oil or wood pellet or gas. You have a constant supply always there. You don't have to worry about storage then of obviously if your supply of fuel, there's no risk of fire, etc. like that. You also then have complete control because you're going for underfloor heating throughout. You have complete control in each room. You have an individual stat to control each room. You have also weather compensation outside. You've got a very top of the range sophisticated piece of kit on your hands when you go that way. So there are a few of the benefits that you can expect. In installing a ground source heat pump, you have a clean, reliable, energy efficient source of heat.
As we can see, ground source heat is a viable renewable energy source, particularly for new build houses.